Hello and welcome to the last panel of the Y'all Stay Home Book Festival, which is our favorite panel, Juvenalia, hosted by the ever lovely Cassandra Clare and Maureen Johnson. And we're just going to do a little wrap up of the festival. We have some teen writing contest winners that we have to announce. For fiction, we have Camille S., a winner, congratulations. And for nonfiction, Katarina G., you have won. We are so excited for you, and we are so excited for this panel, and I cannot wait to see what all the authors have. So take it away, Cassie and Maureen.
I have a mic in my face to make it look official. Cassie, how are you tonight?
I'm excellent. Juvenalia is always one of my favorite topics because I feel like it's a great leveler. It's a reminder that we all sucked at one point. And I feel like that's inspiring because, you know, I imagine our audience looking at us and being like, I can do better than that.
You can. You absolutely can. That's
why
I
they
destroyed all of mine.
You destroyed it all? You don't have anything?
No.
What are you going to read?
Nothing. I'm here to host.
Okay, fine. I'm reading, so you're hosting.
I'm
never, I humiliate myself. I'm not making any further effort.
Oh, I destroyed it dramatically.
Like in a bonfire? Like an ex-boyfriend?
Yes. Yeah. We used to burn our trash out back, you know, and I burned it with trash.
When? Like, how old were you when you did this?
I don't know, 19?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I was like, once you get older, you have nostalgia for these things. But I feel like you got in there a little bit too early.
Yeah.
A full destructive phase.
I predicted this.
You know, first I wrote many terrible things and then I was proud of them. And then I realized that they were terrible and I put them away. And then only recently, you know, like in the past 10 years or so, have I read them again and realized that they're hilarious, in fact.
Well, tonight we're going to hear some formative work, find out where you all started, really get a sense of where you've come from and why it's so impressive that you are where you are now. And who are we going to be starting off with this evening? Do we have anyone who has a strong desire? Oh, we have to introduce our panelists. I'm sorry. I forget where I am in my house.
In the hallway of the movie of The Shining.
Yes. I'm in the Shining Hotel.
So you should definitely be in charge.
Look, I'm a ghost. I'm pointing like you can all see my screen, but you can see your screen. We have Ransom Riggs. Hello, Ransom. How are you this evening?
I'm great. I'm slightly nervous to be reading something from when I was 14. And I hope you all make a lot of fun of it while I'm reading it.
Our plan.
Are you joining us from sunny Los Angeles?
I'm in Orange County now. But yes, there's birds, there's sunshine, it's springtime, and everyone's inside.
That sounds nice.
It's okay.
The sun part and the birds. Cassie?
Yeah, I am joining you from rainy and disgusting Western Massachusetts. And I am prepared to read from my epic novel, which is entitled The Beautiful Cassandra.
Ooh.
I wrote when I was 12. Fine work.
Annie, you are joining us from Australia.
That's right, where it's, well, I was about to say it's winter, but to be honest, people from Melbourne complaining about winter is a little bit like people from LA complaining about winter. Like people who have actual winters laugh at us. But yeah, it's a...
Snowed here like 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's like a sunny Monday morning here. And I am prepared to read you something I wrote when I was very young that I think I must have written because I wanted something from my parents.
Ooh. Holly Black.
Hello.
How are you?
Joining us from?
Good. I'm joining you from 5 miles down the street from Cassie. And yet socially distanced.
I know, it's so sad.
I will be reading from Knights of the Silver Sun, a book I wrote in 8th grade. I believe the Silver Sun is the moon. So that should tell you the quality of prose we're heading for.
That's awesome.
Let's see if I can get through it without laughing so hard I have to stop.
I'm so excited.
It's not bad. Soman, welcome. Where do you join us from?
From my parents' house. I am living like a teenager again, and I want to die.
What room are you in?
I'm hiding in my older brother's room, which I was never allowed to use as a kid. So the moment I got here, I like commandeered it, and
It looked like there was no furniture.
Yeah.
everything about it is terrible. I'm now on my phone trying to do this Zoom from my phone in my parents' house, and there's all these boys texting me, interrupting my screen, and I'm like, I am officially an adolescent right now. Right. I am experiencing a second adolescent.
Beautiful. Marie,
Hello.
the bookshelves behind you are killing me with their beautiful orderliness.
Oh, it's all a problem. No, they are my real books, but like I haven't unpacked like the other half. They're all like shoved in my closet since we moved like about a year ago, and I haven't had the energy to go through and like arrange them by color. So these are the only ones that I could do, and I think I only have like 4 green books. So if anyone has suggestions for more green books, I'm happy to take them.
So fancy. Would anyone like to begin this evening's festivities? I'm looking at all of you.
Moderator, I don't have to start.
I'm going to start because I have to do stuff later.
Okay.
And I just found I believe my 4th grade diary. And, and it is so funny because, you know, when you said that, and that's who I was in 4th grade. In my blazer and sweater at Disneyland. And it's just, you know, when you mentioned that this is the people that we grew up to be, the first entry is all about my grades. So I was like, wow, I was always a little grade grubber. Okay. Dear diary, today is the last day of school at last. I am unusually nervous, but I am 90% sure that I've passed 4th grade because I know I really didn't make a good grade in math. And then later, guess what? I got 4 awards in the 4th quarter: art, PE, science, and a special recognition for cheerfulness. I am now about 98% sure that I will pass 4th grade because you cannot fail a good student like me. We are going to the mall now. I really hope I pass 4th grade. Hooray! Earned 3 awards. All I do is write down all my awards. Oh wait, 4 I mean. An award for art, dedication to duty, Young Writers Club, simplicity and cooperation. And I passed, but I got a really lousy grade in math. But today I feel sorry not to see my best friends, Anna and Socorro, but we'll probably be best friends again. And here are my grades. Christian living, B. Social studies, B. Filipino, which is Tagalog, which was taught as a language, C. Reading, B. Science, B. Language, C. Music, B. Math, C-. Art, A+. PE, home economics, B. And my average is a big C. Can you believe it? Love me.
Oh,
Those are my grades in 4th grade.
You won an award for simplicity?
That's what I wanted to know.
And cheerfulness.
I love it.
I don't think we had awards like that.
Yeah, in the Philippines they did.
That's really sweet.
I feel like your entire life has been
Award. I would not have gotten it.
What happened to your
Very
career as a
proud child.
mathematician? Seemed like you're on track to become a mathematician, Mel. What happened?
I know, right? Come on.
I will forever covet that simplicity award.
I feel like her entire life has been a revenge against simplicity.
I know, right? And cheerfulness? No.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Wait, Mel, you can go if you want to. You don't have to stick around.
I will see you guys at the end.
Okay.
I'm glad you passed.
Yes.
Thank you.
I was
We're all
wondering.
relieved.
Great.
The suspense.
And I think if we're just gonna go in order, for me, Ransom is next.
Oh God. All right. This is bad news for everyone.
I'm just going across the screen clockwise. So.
Okay, so this was a challenge for me because I had to go and find my old writing, which was on discs like this.
Oh, look at you!
That's me. I'm 16, I think, but I was 14 when I wrote this because the file is dated like 1993. I don't know what to say about it. I should probably just dive in. It's pretty bad. It's for some reason written in like a New Jersey dialect. I think it was inspired by some uncles or maybe movies. I don't know. And reading this, I had no memory of ever having written it. So it just sort of, came into the ether. It's called Just One. I'm going to try my best New Jersey accent. It's a Saturday afternoon, the day before the Super Bowl. Me and my buddy Richie are sitting in my living room watching some pre-bowl shows, more food than we could possibly eat on the cushions between us. We don't think about it. We just reach over and grab something, a chip, some peanuts, a beer, down the hatch, nothing to us. We can go through 2 couches worth of snacks some days. Anyway, there we are, and Richie turns to me and says, "These pretzels ain't that bad, Dan. Where'd you get them?" I don't think about it. Hey, Richie loves to eat. I'm not saying I don't either. I look at the pretzel bag. Don't recognize the brand. I shrug. I got him down at the grocery on 5th, next to the deli. Well, Richie eats most of the bag, and when I can manage to get my hand past his, which ain't all that often if I'm being honest, I have some too. Salty, bit of a funny aftertaste, but good. We kill the bag. I get up from the couch and head to the kitchen, find another bag. When Richie puts it in my hand, he tries to say something but starts choking. He hacks and coughs, and for a second I wonder if he's all right. But before I can slap him on the back, he takes a breath. Red in the face and gasping for air, he goes, "Give me some of those, will ya?" Richie has to leave early to go get a physical. He hasn't been in 5 years, which wasn't real good because Richie's a diabetic. But it's nothing to worry about, he always tells me. Real mild. I hadn't thought about it in a long time. Getting back to what I was telling you. Next day, before the Super Bowl starts, Richie comes over again. His eyes are red and he has the blackest bags under him. He tells me his doctor said he shouldn't be having any salty foods now either, but he really wants some of those pretzels. Lucky for him, or unlucky, as the case may be, I'd gone out the night before and bought another bag of them. Nothing else seemed to taste good, like my body needed them. I forget what they were called. Sunshine something. I ask Richie, and he says it without blinking. Sunshine Crunch Foods Incorporated, patent pending. He stares at the TV, but he's not really paying attention. His eyes keep wandering out the window, and he makes weird moaning sounds every once in a while. I start to get worried. I have another pretzel. At halftime, Richie looks pretty bad. He tells me his head hurts. I tell him maybe he better lay off the salty snacks. He starts mumbling obscenities, says he wants some of those damn pretzels. And finally I say, "Look, I ain't gonna have no diabetic-induced comas or nothing sprawled out on the rug while I'm trying to watch the bowl." He stops arguing. I go to get more beer. I open the fridge, get out a 6-pack. I hear a crinkle from the living room, like he's reaching into that danged bag again. I shout at him, "Cut it out." I get a glass for the beer, because Richie's fancy, he likes a glass. Next thing I know, I hear a loud thump and a clatter from the living room. Drop the beer and run. When I get there, those pretzels are spilled all over, and Richie's laying next to the TV, shaking real bad. "Richie!" I yell. Then I run back into the kitchen and dial 911 on the corded phone, and as I'm telling the operator about Richie, I stretch the cord around the corner to look at him again. He's slowed down his jig a little, but his eyes are rolled way up in his head, so you can't hardly see the pupils no more. Anyway, Richie died. I stayed in the kitchen until the guys in white took him away, and went slowly back into my living room and began putting spilled popcorn back into the bowl and pretzels back into their bag. Put it all in the trash. Section break. When Norma gets home, I don't say nothing. Something's wrong because I'm not watching the Super Bowl and Richie's gone. I tell her what happened. She gets all wild and screechy, like she's never had anyone die before. I have. Hunting accidents, car wrecks, NAM. Still, I can't explain why I'm not feeling too bad for Richie or his kids. I should have gone with Richie, dead or not, to the hospital. He was one of my best friends. Anyway, instead of moping around, I tell Norma I'm going out for a drive. I do, but I end up going to the convenience store. Nothing like this has ever happened to me. I just watched my best buddy die, and all I can think about is these goddamn pretzels. I go right to the aisle where I'd seen him the day before, and it said there's a rack of sodas. I ask a manager about it, and he tells me it's probably been taken off their shipping arrangement. By now, I've forgotten all about Rich. I head home and almost get killed when I run a red light at Palm and 3rd. I ain't thinking about driving. I start to feel almost like my body really needs this stuff. My head's feeling funny. When I get out of the car, I almost fall down. Then I go straight into the kitchen and pop open the garbage can. I dig around until I find the pretzel bag, and I eat every one of those stale, day-old, trash-smelling pretzels. And then I stare at the bag. On the front, there's a picture of a sun smiling, but the smile's eerie somehow, like it's an insane sun, like a Norman Bates sun or something. And it's got eyebrows. Suns ain't supposed to have eyebrows. And then in big raked back letters, it says Sunshine Crunch Snack Foods Incorporated. And then down at the very bottom is their slogan. This is what really gets me. It says, nobody can eat just one. I look on the back, but I couldn't find any of those 800 numbers you called to complain. What I do find, though, is their address. They're in upstate New York, a little town called Banks. Not too far a drive. So I go. Norma's in the bath when I leave, and I don't say anything. Traffic is light. It took about 5 hours. It could have been halfway across the country, though, and I wouldn't have thought twice. By the time I get there, my knuckles have turned white. There's a little snow outside, but it's fairly warm in the car. It's a warehouse, not too big, with some other building behind. The only thing I can see of the other building is a huge smokestack dwarfing everything. I rub my hands together and follow a brick path to a door labeled employees only. Better than nothing, but it's locked. I start banging on the door, hard. A metallic echo comes from inside the place. It sounds as empty as the little town I had to come through to get here. I go around the side of the building, still chewing the toothpick I've been gnawing at for most of the trip. It's little more than flecks of wood and spittle now, but it gives me something to concentrate on besides my desire for those dang pretzels. It feels like my body is screaming for them. I find a set of double doors. I tell myself it'll be unlocked. I can almost taste the addictive salt in my mouth. I reach out my hand, turn the handle. My hopes soar and my want explodes, but it sticks, won't turn. I jiggle it frantically. Locked. I look around, desperate for any sign of life at all, but nary a soul do I see. I notice a big red sign above the door. It says, for sale. I cry out, staring up at it, mouth gaping, the ominous message sinking into me. So here I am, in front of my wife's ancient Underwood typewriter, clacking this story out to whoever reads it. It started happening to me already, my hands shaking unbearably, so hard I can barely type. I finished the last pretzel days ago. Since then, I've been crazy. Norma said she couldn't take me anymore, went to stay with her sister. One last thing. I got a call from the guys who came in the ambulance for Richie. It actually says this, ambulance.
Ambulance.
Out of pure courtesy. They told me Richie didn't die from his diabetic condition. His body just deteriorated, evaporated from the inside. I really need a pretzel.
That was awesome.
It's like Scorsese meets the Goonies.
Meets the what?
The Goonies.
I
Yeah.
just want to say, as a native of New Jersey, accurate. Just totally perfect.
Thank you very much.
That's what it's
I was
like.
really hoping that Richie would have turned into a huge pretzel at the end, and
Yeah.
that was going to be the reveal. So I'm a
Right.
little disappointed.
It was
Like, he didn't die of his
Zombie.
condition. He turned into a huge pretzel.
I'm going zombie.
You don't think for that?
No?
Well,
Anyway.
I'm never going to eat a pretzel again without thinking about this story.
Just read the
Anyway,
back.
Richie died.
Yeah,
I know, that was amazing.
that was the highlight. That's going in my next book somewhere. Anyway, Richie died.
Anyway,
Anyway, he died. So, you know.
Anyway, someone else is going to-
All right, Maureen, you should pick the next person.
well, why don't we keep going along? If Amie, if you're ready to go, then
I am ready to go. So I have a story. I asked my mum to go hunting and see what she could find, and she got nothing but spare time right now. So she managed to produce a story that I seem to have written at about the age of 8. How it has managed to move house with her, I could not tell you. There's me, older than 8. There's teenage Amie saying, "Oh, Mom, take my photo." But I can tell you that this story that I wrote, fully illustrated, people, was inspired by a true story. I do have a memory of my little sister falling into the pool. And I think that, you know, structurally it shows some promise, although it does lack the, you know, the detail that Ransom had on offer in terms of, you know, setting and a strong sense of place. So page 1 of this story, we have a picture of Superman that I have made as a collage with a picture of my dad's head cut out. There you go. And stuck on. And underneath, that's my mum on a towel, my sister and I in the pool, and the 2 brown birds may seem like a detail. Those are 2 ducks, Myrtle and Gregory, that used to show up and hang out in our swimming pool on a regular basis. We know not from whence they came or where they went afterwards. They would just show up several times a year and hang for a while we gently discouraged them from making a nest because pets, dogs. So, page 1. One hot summer day, my sister Felicity and I were splashing in the pool, and Mum was pretending she wasn't chicken by saying she didn't feel like swimming. In my mother's defense, that was not a heated pool, so, you know, fair. I don't think I would have been in it either. Next page, please. So Dad said, "I'm just nicking down the shops." "Right," Mum yelled. That is a reasonable representation of what our front gate looked like, and my dad in one of his favorite short sleeve shirts.
Muscular.
Now, hang on, we're slightly out of order here, so I'm gonna tell you what happens next instead. So my sister and I are swimming in the pool, and we have suddenly Felicity went under. Mum went to jump up and tripped over the towel. Mum was unconscious, and we then have a picture of my mother lying prone on the ground, fairly conveniently in the recovery position. Mm-hmm. And now we reach the dramatic climax of the book. 4 lines. I dived for Felicity. She grabbed me. I couldn't surface. And then all caps. Oh no. And there is a picture of the 2 of us underwater. I can tell which one's which because I'm the brunette and she's the blonde. And I gotta be honest, the subtext here is that it looks like she has grabbed me and is keeping me under the water with her. Her hands are on my head at this point in the story. So,
oh, it does.
Yeah, there we go.
She's trying to kill you.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. I think, like, what were you saying, young Amie? I don't know. So the next page reads, just then a speck appeared in the sky. It became a dot, and then Super Dad was pulling us to the surface. And again, I have drawn a picture of my dad in a Superman costume that says SD on the front with kind of lines of awesomeness radiating off him, and he appears to be dancing. I'm going to post all of these in my Insta stories later for anyone who wants to enjoy my early artistic endeavors. This was the point in reading at which I began to think, I think I wanted something from Dad at this point. Yeah, there he is. There must have been some purchase that my finances wouldn't stretch to that I think my dad might have had it within his power to gift. So I think maybe that's what was going on. Just then, Mum woke up. This is Super Dad, Philip Kaufman, I said. With that, he flew away. And there is a picture of my mum saying, thanks for saving them. And then we conclude with the final page. At that moment, Dad arrived home. So what happened while I was gone? He said. You look pretty stunned. You know, I said with a wink. And then there's a very lazy picture of a wink because at that point I had clearly totally run out of steam. I got to be honest, my editors still tell me that I rush my endings and they usually send me back to revise. I feel like this would be one of those times as well. And that is my 8-year-old masterpiece, Super Dad.
Yay!
Very good.
Amie, in that last image, was that looked like a cow udder? Is it like a cow? It looks like cow udders.
Oh man, that was the
I
wink.
mean, I think it was a very bad wink, but look, it could also have been some kind of Freemason sign. I honestly don't know.
I would just like to say we have these moderator note, we have these Q&As, so questions are coming in and I can ask maybe some of them at the end that are sort of generally about writing, and I answered a few, but I'd like to say there's a lot of enthusiasm for Ransom's story.
Yes.
They're digging it. They're like, I like that. Does that make me a bad writer? It does not make you a bad writer. It makes you a pretzel appreciator.
Yeah, scary. Yep. People are, when he died, you know, it was
A lot of people
It's about addiction.
feeling Richie feelings.
he just died.
You're gonna stay with all of us.
Anyway, he
I
died.
just wanted to comment on that so you would know you were getting some feedback. There's like 71 questions down there, so I apologize to the people who are out there. We are probably never going to get to all of them, but I will try to ask some of them and answer some of them as we get towards the end. Is that cool? With
Yep, we're
y'all
scrolling them as well. So we'll.
Okay. I guess we're on Holly.
Holly Black. Hey, Holly, can I ask a big favor? Can you give a little hit of Elfier for the Zoom crowd?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes, please.
here's how they're doing.
Nice.
Nice. So cool.
They look
Very
good.
nice.
Feels
Thank
really
you.
well. Best thing I have.
I had to clean them with a Q-tip when they were healing. It was a
That's
moment.
friendship.
That's friendship. When your friend's ear, it's like all, yep, being sewed back together, and then you have to go in there and clean it out. Yep.
It's hard to see your ears in the back.
What?
It's hard to see the back of your ears.
No, I just said that's love. I didn't say that you didn't earn it.
All right. Well, shifting topics. Yeah, I will be reading this thing that I wrote 8th, 9th
Wow.
That's amazing.
grade.
Wow.
I was real into high fantasy.
I'm so happy.
And,
What are the necklaces? Can you just tell us real quick what the necklaces are?
They are 2 different pewter dragons.
Nice.
Respect.
Indeed.
All right. On the utmost turret of the castle of Arden, a figure stood shrouded in a long dark cape. The arms of the figure were raised to the sky as if commanding some dark force. The suddenly rising winds caused the hood of the cape to fall back, revealing the startlingly beautiful face of Amaritha. Her face contorted in a secretive agony, whatever that is. Her slender form swayed with the growing storm as she screamed incantations into the wind. These incantations would kill the sorcerer. Kill him before he could teach Ambrose anything of wizardry. And then she, Amaritha, would wield the evil one's power with none to stop her. None. So I get through. The words she screeched. Let me just tell you, this is edited. I edited this to make it this bad. Words she screeched from the castle had seemed to rip the sky, but in the forests of Azia, they were only whispers in the wind. Ambrose awoke to strange silence, a silence deep and waiting. Lessons should have begun hours ago, and yet Alexis had not come to fetch her amongst a shower of reprimands for having overslept. She quickly dressed and ran into Alexis's bedroom. Waves of frigid terror rose and fell like the tide. She burst into the room and was met by a man who looked like a shadow of what she knew to be Alexis. What an entrance! Do you do that with your enemies as well as your friends to scare the hell out of them? Alexis said bitterly. I'm sorry, she said mutely. Coming to kneel beside the bed.
Mutely.
Good.
In her face, he softened his tone. It is I who am sorry. I have not finished your training. I shall die today.
I'm so happy.
His tone became brisk again. And he said, Ambrose, bring me the silver box in the chest in the kitchen and some wine. His words came more in gasps than sentences, like mine are right now, because I'm only able to gasp. When she came back, and he had drunken half a wineskin, he resumed the conversation. In this box are all the aid I can give you. I had hoped to teach you more, but evil has taken a hand. Come here and kneel beside me. He opened the box. A crystal vial with some red liquid along the bottom lay on its side amid velvet and a goodly amount of shimmering dust. The dust, he gasped, is the dust of tranquility. Throw it around a room and the occupants will fall into a peaceful, blissful sleep. Very tranquil for all concerned. The only real problem is that everyone excepting you in the area may sleep forever or a few minutes. Use the spirit. It is dangerous. Oh, one more thing I must warn you of. As it does not work on you, it shall not work on those who are part of you, such as parents or siblings or others of kin. Ambrose nodded solemnly. Alexis continued, now this, he gestured to the bottle with just a trace of liquid at the bottom. This is the liqueur of humanity. And it, as all liqueurs are, is... What's happening? Oh, sorry. And it, as all liqueurs are too late? That can't be true. Ambrose bowed her head. So be it.
You wrote that when you were 8?
No, I was in 8th grade.
Oh my God! Even so,
I
it's
feel
impressive.
Very epic.
Very epic.
I see hints of.
I
Holly is in there.
I like the way she's hedging her bets, where she's like, this powder will put to sleep your enemies forever or some period of time. And it's specified.
Forever. You, some people.
Forever or a couple of minutes.
How recently did you make those edits, Holly?
They were at the time.
Oh, okay.
This is really, that's what I wanted to show you. This is edited.
You were serious.
Yeah.
You were serious.
Oh, I was serious.
I thought that was pretty good. You read
I thought it was really good also.
It sounds-
Yeah, I watched the whole thing in my head like a movie. It was
Yeah,
very
there's a seed
cool.
there, you know?
I don't think you needed the waves of frigid tranquility
Terror?
coming in like the tide.
Yeah.
But
We're not really looking for critique at this point.
Yeah. I wanted to see more of the training montage, and I like how when he ran in the room and was like, "What the hell?"
He was like, I too shall die today, but then he didn't.
He dies. That's what he's saying. It's too late. The
Well, he's
liqueur of
gonna die.
humanity should
Yep.
be able to save him, but it's too late.
Very calm.
To be
I
honest,
thought he died.
Ransom
he
and
died like
Holly's
Richie.
stories, there are connections there.
You feel they're similar?
Yeah,
Same universe, shared universe.
Aw.
yeah. He died.
Yeah.
certain core coldness of soul.
I mean, I think it's the New Jersey thing.
Pretzels, magic
Never
dust.
been to New Jersey.
Anyway, Richie died.
All right, so thank you, Holly. That book is the gift that keeps giving, man. Every part of it is bizarre. Yeah, I mean, this is the one with the Benthromax, right?
Yeah, this is
You guys haven't met
later Benthromax. Yeah.
Benthromax is awesome. Benthromax is a giant dragon who has kidnapped a bunch of vampires.
correct. What's not going on here?
So much.
He's
I
my
will not
favorite already.
more of this book because it is excellent. Okay, so if anyone has ever, I think this is Lady Midnight. I dedicated to Holly, and the dedication is to Holly. Elven he was, and that is a quote from this book.
Oh.
Elven he was, not he was an elf. Elven he was. One of my truly favorite
It was
sentences
made
of all
immortal.
time. All right, Somon's next. You are.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm at home. So luckily, my mom keeps everything I've ever written ever, and I didn't know where to start. But I thought in 10th grade, I had a really emotional year in this English class where I had a teacher who made us keep weekly journals, and we would submit. That's me at 15. And we would submit weekly journals, and she would comment back. And in the beginning, like the first half of the year, I felt like they were really guarded. And, you know, I didn't like, I was trying to get a good grade or whatever. And then as time went on, I found myself just being a little freer with her and just more myself. And then she would respond. So I just thought I'd read a typical entry from that journal. And it's titled, I don't know if you guys can see this, it's titled Monday. So I will read it to you. And this Monday happens to be a Valentine's Day when I'm writing this story. When the sky is dark and the humidity almost dampening, life is horrible. Today was that horrible day. Well, actually it wasn't. I just feel kind of sick. And then I write in very small letters, and Danny Brenner's cheery attitude is getting to me. I think she's too much sometimes and very annoying. And then my teacher comments in red, I agree.
Oh my God.
Over the line.
And if you're watching this, you be yourself.
Anyway, if you notice me sitting extremely tall in class today, don't think that I am trying to see something or act like I'm really attentive today, or that I'm actually pretending to do something, but I really, really have to sit straight. I went to the doctor the other day because my back was absolutely killing me. And then she writes in red, you slump very badly and I have noticed it.
This teacher.
And I write, he took an x-ray and told me that I had a small lateral curvature in my spine. He said that it was genetic, but I am making it worse by doing too much homework and not enough sports. And she writes, probably not. And I go, the solution is 3-part. Part number 1, sit tall. And she writes, I will remind you. I say, part 2, do stretches 12 times a day. That is too much stretching and I refuse to do it. And she writes in red, no, it is not very much at all, especially for one with a serious condition such as you. And number 3, go swimming. She says that is a good idea, especially since you don't like to do athletic activity. I said, he told me that tennis would probably hurt too much at this point. So he said to try swimming instead. What happened, the reason that my back hurts is that I spent 15 hours doing my science fair board for the Dade County Youth Fair. And that's how I seriously got hurt. My sleeping position hasn't been helping too much either. So now my back hurts. I feel awful because it is damp outside. And my stomach is also hurting because I've been constantly stretching and I can't play tennis. High school is terrible. I wish life could be peaceful. And then she writes in big red letters next to peaceful, it is. And that's the end of my journal entry. So that was sort of the relationship between me and my English teacher.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
That's in editorially, that's a heavy edit. I would think that's a very heavy edit.
Oh God, she was a bit much, to be honest, but it was nice to be validated by a teacher.
I'm glad she didn't like what's her name, you know, that you had that in common.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was the day in the life of 15-year-old me.
That was
Too much. Amazing.
Yeah.
Marie,
Intense.
it's up to it's on you. You are.
Oh, is it my turn now? Okay.
You are
hang on.
second last.
Oh, Maureen. Oh, okay.
No, Marie. You. Yes. You.
And bring it home.
Bring it home, Marie.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Sorry. Okay, so I'm sorry I don't have a photo, but this is from when I was 12. Oh, yeah, I mean, I did not dress like that in when I was 12.
Very similar.
That's
I
very
had like a bowl
poised.
haircut. So just picture like me with a bowl haircut and like these thick glasses. That was basically me.
What were you doing there?
I don't actually remember. I think we were doing a keynote of some kind for, I don't remember, Shane.
That was year one Y'all
That
West.
was year one, y'all West.
The babyest
You
Marie
in
I
year
could-
one. So like that's like.
Oh, the babies.
All right.
Yeah.
Go back. We'll hear the story now. All right. Goodbye.
Thanks for finding a photo. Thanks, Shane. Okay, so this is from 1996, which would mean that I was 12 during this time. And this was a story called Galata, Book 1, Chapter 1. Written by Marie Lu, copyright 1996, do not steal. That is the opening. Just in case, gotta cover your tracks. So it goes, Ivo grinned evilly as he watched Worker Bots complete his latest weapon, a much faster and more accurate space laser than the Ultra Laser, his current favorite one in outer space. It would be much more successful in turning people into robots, but the main reason he designed it was because of Galata. At the thought of that name, Ivo grimaced, for a different reason than I should have grimaced at, his red eyes narrowing. That accursed man, he muttered aloud. If this doesn't get him, nothing will. That thought comforted him somewhat as he sat back and watched the worker bots work away. Soon, he smiled to himself, soon you will finally meet your end, Galata. The air irritated Galata's nose as he carefully picked his way across the piles of debris that littered the city. Man, Ivo needs to give his home a little fixer-up, the man mumbled under his breath as he headed for his hideout. Reaching the disguised doorway, he looked around for any worker bots before quickly opening it slightly, and rushing in. Yo, uncle, Galata said to the old man sitting inside by the controls. Give this to Rose Dust and see if she can figure out the code. He handed his uncle a small floppy disk, which his uncle stuffed safely into his drive. I guess I'll be heading back now, Galata replied. Take care, uncle. You too, Galata. Daryl was falling asleep at the control panels. My names are just all over the place in this book. He had been ordered to keep a close watch over the city for any sign of Galata, and it had been hours, but no Galata. He yawned, glared sleepily at the screens before him, and was about to doze off again when one of the screens showed a tall man run by. Jolted awake by the sudden scene, Daryl began punching in commands as he yelled out, Sir, Galata has been sighted. Immediately, Ivo came running in. Well, don't just sit there, Addlebrain, he snapped. I want all worker bots to report there right now. We must lure him into the new laser's chamber. Yes, sir, replied Daryl. Galata paced impatiently back and forth, waiting for Ivo's worker bots to arrive. He had walked over the same area of dirt so many times that it was beginning to wear down. Come on, you slow puddle of water, he grumbled. Come get me. If he could run inside the laser's chamber, Rose Dust could run the code. Then they could shut it down permanently. Just then, a bright light beamed down on him as the voice of a worker bot rang out. Surrender, it ordered. You are surrounded. Rolling his eyes, Galata ran away from the worker bots. He sped off with a bunch of worker bots chasing him. Cowabunga, he yelled. This is from the 90s. Laser beams slammed past him everywhere. The worker bots forced him to retreat into a corner of the city where a metal chamber stood. Galata ran inside it. The worker bots shut the door hard behind him and locked him in. Ivo's voice came on a speaker inside the chamber. He sounded like he was smiling. Well, Galata, fancy you dropping by. Galata narrowed his eyes. Nice little chamber you got here. Ivo snarled in anger and said, You fool. You are exactly where I want you to be. I have a new weapon trained on you right now. Galata only smiled. It's too bad it doesn't work. Ivo laughed. Say goodbye, old friend. Then there was a silence. Galata closed his eyes. He really hoped Rosa's code worked, or else the laser would kill him immediately or turn him into a robot. Suddenly, a white-blue glow of light fired from the ceiling. It exploded everything around him. Galata disappeared into the light. Yes, Galata is finally mine, Ivo cried out as he stared at his screen, but then he gasped. No, it cannot be. Slowly, Galata opened his eyes and looked up at the speaker. He now glowed with a blue-white light. He laughed out loud. Thanks for making me even stronger than before, he said, rushing to the door. As Ivo let out a shrill scream, Galata ran off and disappeared from view. The end of chapter 1.
You got right to it.
Yeah, that's where you jumped in with some action, Maureen.
Yeah.
That's really good. I love how you opened with murder bots and his favorite space laser, because I know that I have at least 5 or 6 favorite space lasers.
You gotta have a favorite. There's only one that's the favorite.
Yeah, you gotta have your favorite space laser that turns people into robots.
Yeah.
Oh, no, so good.
Galactus!
Kill him immediately, or turn him into a robot. I like.
Or make him stronger than he was before.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, you have
Wait,
options.
what's
Kill
op-
him, turn him into a robot, or make him just
I mean,
pick one.
there are options, yes. He was very kind about that.
That was very amazing.
Probably why it's the
Thank you,
favorite
very kind.
possible thing.
I will read very quickly and not take up too much of your time with my
Take
terrible
all the time.
story.
Take all the time you need,
I'll
Cass.
ask some questions. All right, so this is a book I wrote when I was 12. It's 1,000 pages long, so I'm obviously not going to read the whole thing. It's called The Beautiful Cassandra. Don't ask.
You wrote a 1,000-page book when you were
I
12.
did. Yeah, I totally did. That's
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Where are you in this photo?
I am at a friend's house in LA. It's the summer. And I think I was at camp, because those are camp clothes. Like a camp, like I was doing like summer counseling stuff. So like ugly shorts and shirt, that's the camp uniform.
That's very LA looking, very fancy.
It is very LA looking. I had a lot of hair back then. Like really long hair, like down to my butt. All right, so, however, I'm a little older in this picture than I am when I wrote this. I'm probably 16 there. I couldn't find a picture of me when I was 12. But it's good because the main character here is 16. So this is called The Beautiful Cassandra. Prologue, England, 1774. Did I know anything about 1774? I did not. Beautiful Cassandra, 16 years old, sat under her favorite tree in the garden of the convent where she had spent her life and did her needlepoint. Wind was sighing through the broad-leaved maples that surrounded St. Mary's, located near the town of Blankshire, and it blew her raven tresses about her delicate and fine-featured face and ruffled the calico skirt of her modest gown. She sighed and smiled, reflecting on her happiness at being able to spend an afternoon away from under the captious eye of the solemn and black-clad nuns that inhabited St. Sheila's convent. Remember it was St. Mary's convent like literally 3 sentences ago?
Yeah.
There is no continuity here. Any walker chancing by the secluded grove would have carried away with him the beautiful picture she made, even dressed as plainly as she was, except for the fine blue scarf she wore wound about her alabaster neck, a present from the father that she barely remembered because he had died. Her beauty was still apparent. However, it had gone largely unremarked upon in the years following her mother's death. When she was 6 years old, I think that it was Cassandra who was 6 and not her mother who died at the age of 6, that she had spent at the convent. Cassandra remained unaffected by her spectacular beauty. Suddenly, the peace of the pastoral morning was shattered as a rider on his chestnut stallion exploded into the clearing. Cassandra emitted a high-pitched scream and threw up her arms to shield herself from the horse's churning hooves. The rider, noticing the cowering girl at the last minute, reined in his horse. Damnation, he swore angrily, swinging agilely down from his stallion, advancing upon Cassandra, who screamed and threw her needlepoint at him. Young man glanced down at the needlepoint and back up at her. Pardon me, he said. I did not realize you were a lady. No. Noticing her smile, I don't know why she's smiling, the boy relaxed, a smile spreading over his handsome face as he took in her perfect beauty. Her family had always been good looking, and she was exceptional. From her long blue-black waving tresses that curled about her heart-shaped face, to her huge deep blue eyes fringed with black lashes, to her dainty fingers and her ankles, she was perfection, the young intruder's bold gaze amidst none of her many charms. His eyes finally came to rest on a point below her neck. This guy is an asshole. Pleased to meet you, she said. The man held out a tanned and finely shaped hand. Delighted, I'm sure. All right, he seemed, well, she said, who are you? He seemed about to answer her query when suddenly the sound of thundering hooves echoed through the clearing. He spun away from her, a desperate look on his face. There is no time, he cried. He snatched the scarf around her neck, simultaneously pulling her down beside him on the turf, before she had time to do more than cry out in surprise. He cast her about for the needlepoint, snatched it from her hand, and draped her filmy scarf over his head. Cassandra opened her mouth to scream, but he clapped one hand over her mouth. From behind his hand, she emitted a low, growling sound. What on earth are you doing? She said. So having this hand over her mouth is not at all impeding her ability to talk. His eyes flashed. He pulled her skirt over his legs so it hid his breeches and mud-spattered boots. Before bending his head over her needlepoint and pretending to sew, my needlepoint will never be the same, thought Cassandra sadly. Before she had time to say anything else, a group of wild-looking men rode into the clearing on panting horses. The leader of the men reined in his horse with a great clatter of hooves. Damnation, he swore. That's all I do. What ear is that? Another man placed a restraining hand on his shoulder. Perhaps these ladies have seen the criminal. The other man turned to Cassandra with an ingratiating smile. We're looking for a dangerous man, mistress. Cassandra gasped. Oh, goodness me, I am so terrified. Tell me what he looks like. He proceeded to describe in exact detail the strange boy who had just taken possession of her needlepoint. Gracious, she said. I don't suppose you've seen him. No, answers Cassandra. My friend and I have been here all morning, sewing. I have seen no one. The man began to confer with his companions. Oh, man. Okay, they leave. Cassandra flutters her eyelashes at him. Of course not, she purred. I hope you strong men catch him. Of course we will. Okay, so then she demands the boy tell her his name. The boy was trapped. He knew it. With grace, he looked down upon her and said, Jadrian Steele. Lord Jadrian Steele. Cassandra finally let go of his hand. He whistled and his horse trotted into the clearing. Oh, she said, but Lord Jadrian Steele was already turning his horse to leave. Then she remembered something and ran forward, crying passionately, wait, you forgot me. Give me back my needlepoint. He turned in his saddle and gave her a devilish smile that sent chills up her spine. I know, he said. The end. That's chapter 1.
That can't be the end. I must have more.
Cassie,
Much more.
is his name Jadrian?
Yes, it's like Adrian, but with a J at the front.
It's Jadrian Steele.
Lord Jadrian Steele.
And he's still her embroidery.
Needlepoint.
Needlepoint.
Well,
He disguised himself as a lady by draping needlepoint over his head, which was very convincing apparently, since the mounted police were totally taken in. And he took her needlepoint and ran away with it.
just stole it.
He comes
I like
back.
that he focused on a point below her neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had no idea what that meant. None. Like,
It's
I
just
read some like
uncharted.
romance novels, clearly, and I had literally no idea what was going on.
You're ready for 996 more pages of description of her beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot more of that clothes. There's a lot of clothes. And I was really lax with the historical period. So there's like rock bands and like cars and stuff.
I much prefer this version of 1774.
Oh, me too.
I mean, Adrian does not live for a really long time, I have to warn you. He dies pretty soon. I was a
Aw.
killer of characters even in those days.
There's a rock band in this. I want to hear the
Yeah,
rock.
there's a rock band. I could try to skip ahead to the rock band, but I don't know if I have that part of the
We
book.
don't. At some point, please let me see it.
I like literally like I got this by contacting a friend of mine from high school and being like, do you have any of this book that I used to like distribute to my friends? And she was like, I have the whole thing. She uploaded the first 5 chapters for me because I didn't still have it, but like I was
see,
pretty impressed that she did.
But Cassie, I want an ongoing podcast in which we get a section of this book.
Like, that my dad wrote a porno podcast. I feel like, I wrote a terrible romance novel. That could totally be a thing.
I want to hear.
I mean, Holly has read some of this book before. It does not get better.
That's the beauty of it.
But people keep saying
Couldn't get
damnation all
better.
the time, which I enjoy. I have no idea where that came from. Everyone's like, damnation!
Damnation.
It sounds like a word that that you had recently acquired in that time, and you're like, this word is amazing.
So good, right? I strongly suspect I also did not know what needlepoint was. Like, I seem to think it was like a big thing of fabric, which it completely is not.
Because if he's hiding behind that, he's.
Could be.
Oh my God. Okay, we have a lot of questions. Let me see.
Yes, we have a lot of questions, but we are at the 10 o'clock mark, which I believe means.
I'm just going to see if I can find one super general one about lots of all the speakers here are my favorite authors, lots of really sweet stuff. I guess it's mostly like what is your sort of advice to young writers? So we could just do that and then.
Sounds good.
A lot of people want Ransom to publish his story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but she died.
And then make a short film and maybe an animated series and like a crime fighting.
Product tie-in with the pretzels.
Pie in pretzel.
Somebody has said they would read 1,000 pages of the Beautiful Cassandra. I love you. You would not, but I appreciate you saying so.
I would.
I would.
Well, if not, given the new world we live in, I may wind up doing a podcast. So, okay, I guess the big question that everybody has is what, would you go back, rather than advice, what would you go back and tell your teenage self about writing?
It gets better.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
That and also
keep going.
yeah, and the kernel of what your writing's going to be is in your work, right? Like everything that we just read, I think kind of represents who we are as writers now.
I think it in general, yes, speaks to our interests. Like, I kind of like to think you could look at this stuff and pick out who wrote it. Like Marie's, murder bots. Marie. Ollie's is high fantasy. Mine is romance. There's definitely yours is
gossip and melodrama.
Melodrama at school.
It's
Mine is just AWOL.
Ransom's is very dark.
Yeah, and dramatic
horror element.
Has a horror element. There's definitely, I think that, I guess I would say, to my past self, it is okay to be interested in all the weird stuff that you're interested in, because all of the weird and unique stuff that you are fascinated by and that you will put into your books and your stories when you're young that makes them kind of funny now, is actually all of the stuff that will make you have a unique voice when you are a older and more mature writer, because we are all working with the same basic, we're all working with the same basics, the same languages, the same tropes, the same concepts, but it's the way that you combine them and the manner of the things that you focus on and what interests you that gives you your voice. So do not be worried about being interested in super weird stuff. I mean, I was really into needlepoint, and apparently romance is set in 1774. And that is cool. And Holly was into, I don't even know. Computer dragons.
I think,
Poison.
my piece of advice is the thing actually Cassie usually says, which is to finish, to just try to push through to the end, to some kind of end. I think having complete work, no matter how flawed, teaches you a lot about the shape of stories and about why stuff at the beginning either works or doesn't work when you have to actually follow it through a whole thing.
And
Yeah,
bad writing never killed anyone to write something badly. You have to write it badly before you write it well.
Right, and that never changes. And I think I would tell teenage me that a few people are going to tell teenage me that her stuff isn't very good, or that they didn't like it, or they're going to pick it apart so much that she feels like she should never write again. And don't listen to that. Just keep going. You've got to, like Maureen says, you got to write it badly before you can write it well. And you're learning everything you do, you're learning.
I kept imagining our teenage selves like time traveled to now and witnessing this like ritual humiliation of their work and them dying with embarrassment and saying to them, no, 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 you're missing the point. Actually, this is great. What you did was great. And 1,000 pages of a thing, like I saw all your notes, Holly, like we all wrote a ton of crap when we were young. And that is how you get better. You have to try out 1,000 ideas. You have to keep working through all these different scenarios, characters, styles. You know, there's, Holly, it was the kitchen sink, but in the coolest way. You see like little threads of this and that, you know, colors and textures that you pull out, and you have to try them before you can use them well later. And yeah, write 1,000 pages of something. That would be my advice. And don't worry if it's bad. In fact, I hope it is, because you have to be bad for a long time first.
Yeah, and if anything, I feel like this has kind of shown how universal it is for all writers, no matter what genre you're writing in or what, you know, you ultimately, what writer you become. We all started in these types of places, and you're going to get rejection letters, you know, if you're trying to get published, like it's going to happen. It's fine. And I think teenage me would have appreciated knowing, because at the time I didn't know, that you're not your work. Like the two are not equal. It's kind of echoing what others have said already, that you as a person are amazing and fascinating and interesting. And your work is just a snapshot of you trying to capture that in that moment. And a rejection is just a single person's opinion on that piece of writing on that paper. It's not an opinion of you as a human, you know, like you do you and you keep doing your thing. Like you're, like Cassie said, like, be weird, you know? Weird is good. Weird is what will make you an amazingly interesting writer later on.
Yeah, I did
Find what you like, try to figure out how it works.
Yeah, you can actually see like you can see all of our influences when we read our stuff, like what we were reading.
You were trying to figure it out.
Right, because it's normal to take the things that you love and try to break them down for their component parts. Like you are trying to figure out how they work.
Well,
so that is okay.
I did a lot of writing programs like over the years, and I was never the best person in any of them. I think about that a lot, that the thing that's different for me is that I just kept doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I really, like you said, finish what because people always want to start a thing because it's new and it's fun and exciting, and then it becomes hard. Like at some point, any project will become difficult, and you know, you'll have to figure out your way to ending it and wrapping up all your threads and all of that. And that is where most people give up. So just try not to give up, get all the way through to the end, even if you don't think it's going to be perfect, you know, press through, because you'll never finish anything if you don't teach yourself how to finish.
All right.
That was amazing.
That was fun. Thank
you guys.
you.
That was the thing.
Thank you all for showing us who you, that's me.
Maureen.
Yeah.
I was exploding into light.
You really do look like David Bowie.
Thank you. That's the best compliment I've ever gotten. That's me. And I believe my German Club t-shirt.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We're all really cute, man.
That was amazing. And it was such a high point to go out with a festival. So thank you again to all our authors and to Cassie and Maureen for putting this awesome Juvenalia panel together. Yay!
Thank
you so much.
This is the last Y'all Stay at Home event. So we just want to say thank you again to all our teen writing contest participants. Again, the winners were Camille S. and Katerina G. Thank you to all our amazing authors who did Instagram lives and showed us their basement and did all the panels. Thank you to Nick Stone for pinch hitting a panel today. Thank you to Robert Graves. Thank you to Rachel Stoll, who is our amazing social media person, who has been keeping our Twitter feed and Instagram lives all day. Thank you to Rochelle Youssef, who is our schools person. Thank you to Blue Bicycle and Mysterious Galaxy for doing our book sales. Thank you to our sponsors and our patrons. Thank you to everyone out there. We had 96,000 participants and
Wow.
reach every
Oh my
continent
God.
except for Antarctica. So Antarctica, we got to work on that. Thank you to my partners in crime, Raphael Stoll and Raphael Simon and Margaret Stoll. Thank you to the board, and the biggest thank you is to Shane and Tori. Shane and, oh my God, you guys. Yay! That's adorable. Okay. Thank you to Shane's Pantry, and thank you to Tori's boyfriend Connor, who kept her in snacks and did all the Zoom invites. We love you all. Thank you to all our community. Y'all West, we hope to see you at Y'all Fest in November, whether in digital form or in real life, and hopefully we will be back in non-digital form next year. Stay safe, everyone, and stay home.